So I just did a review of my last boat, my Mako Pro Skiff 15, which was also my first boat, the boat that I traded in to get this bad boy right here, the Robalo R200. So I was just going to give my thoughts on the R200, kind of go over some of the photos, some of the optional features that I've included in mine, and my thoughts on it and whether or not I recommend it as a beginner boat. Maybe not necessarily a first boat because this is my second boat, but I do consider myself still a beginner or a novice boater. Yeah, but this is basically it right here. This is the 2025 R200. Mine is a 2024 R200. I bought mine last year. I doubt much has changed. They've been relatively the same throughout the years as far as I've seen online. I've only got experience with the 2024 model, but it looks almost exactly the same as this, minus the colors, and that's about it. It's a 20-foot boat, hence where the 200 and R200 comes from. That's generally how their naming scheme goes. 20 foot 7 inches to be exact, which for me is great. My last boat was a 15 footer, a skiff at that, so it wasn't very family friendly. I could get myself and maybe one other person on there to do some fishing. And because it was a skiff, it was mostly like inshore type fishing, but a 21 foot boat can get out and do most of what any recreational boater would want to do. It's not going to be like commercial fishing or doing huge charters on it or anything like that, but I don't intend on doing any of that kind of stuff anyways. Yeah, it's got a 70-gallon fuel tank, which is, to me, awesome. I go usually for several trips, 2, 3, 4 trips before I have to refill. Others might not have the same experience, but I don't go out that far in this boat, or at least I haven't yet. We do most of our fishing in the Gulf of Mexico, so you really don't need to get out too far to hit a lot of different species out there. Although the farther out, the more options you got. But 70-gallon fuel tank for me is amazing, especially stepping up from a 6.6 gallon fuel tank on my last boat. 8 passenger cap. I think I've put at least 8, maybe 9 people on my boat. Very spacious, very roomy, tons of seats and different things to grab onto, and I'll go over that once we get to the photos if it kind of can show it better. This is almost identical to what my boat looks like. I don't have this, what's this ski rack, ski tower, whatever they call it, for water skiing. But other than that, I mean, color scheme, everything almost exactly the same. Which I think this is a beautiful color on this boat, by the way. I think it was my second choice of color, but it's grown on me. I think at this point, if I was to get it again, I'd get the exact same color. A couple photos, all look relatively the same, maybe minus color. But yeah, I've got the T-top on mine just like this, which has the rocket launchers up top, which is really good if you want to get a spread going. If you're trolling, have a few up top, a few down low. Maybe have your long lines up top, your short lines down low, something like that, just depending on what you want. But it just gives you 4 extra rod holders if you do get the optional T-top. They do a bimini top as well, I think, and then of course you can go no top, which in Florida I highly suggest against, just to get you out of the sun and out of the elements a little bit. Plus the extra rod holders is worth their weight in gold. To see here, this is the bow seating area. These seat rests come out. I almost never have them in because I use this as kind of a casting platform, and these seat cushions are removable as well. So you could just have them in whenever you're having guests or you're doing a sandbar day, going to Crab Island, something like that, and then you can pull them off just to keep them clean. Throw them in the head right here if you want, or just keep them in the garage, which I really like. They snap in, snap out, and they're super sturdy. When I'm driving down the highway and I'm trailering, I don't worry about them flying off or anything. They're really sturdy and secure, it feels like. Front anchor area, love it. It comes with a custom anchor that fits perfectly in there. I actually lost that anchor on a reef, on an artificial reef, so I have to get it replaced. But yeah, love the front anchor storage area. What I will say about this front area is it doesn't have a lot of room to put a trolling motor. So what you'll see if you go over YouTube videos of trolling motor installs on this boat is you kind of have to make it fit. You kind of got to get the best placement that you can, but there's not a lot of space to mount a trolling motor on either side. I just bought a Minn Kota Tarova, trolling motor. I haven't installed it yet, but we'll see how it goes. Just based on YouTube videos that I've seen, though, it's not the cleanest install. There might be a little bit of overhang. Some people do like a little custom platform that they build on there, but just something to keep in mind. And I don't think there's a factory option to have one installed either that I know of. Otherwise, I would have gotten it. I tried to get it. I asked about it, and they never really followed up with me on that. This head is really nice. It opens forward as opposed to the side. Oh, yeah. Just like this. It opens forward as opposed to the side, like a lot of other boats, which I think is a lot more effective use of the space. It opens this way, right? You're able to step down. I don't really use it as a head. Mine came with the little porta potty thing that I doubt will ever get used. But it's in there. Use it as a step stool basically. But basically this is just dry storage for all our stuff, extra life vest, things like that. I can't remember if mine has light in it or not. This might be, yeah, I think it does. Never use it though, because I haven't really used this center area in the dark very often. Fish boxes, you got fish boxes on both sides. They're insulated, they're self-draining. They got drain holes in the bottom, so as your ice melts, the water drains out by itself. I think there's plenty of space in them. I haven't personally caught anything too big to fit in these fish boxes, and usually we keep one for fish and then the other just for waters, beers, things like that, just depending. Although it does come with a cooler, and I'll touch on that once I get to that photo. Yep, this is what it looks like when you remove the seat covers. Like I said, great casting platform down here or up here, just depending on what you got going on. Grab handles, really nice for whenever you're underway and you got your people seated, they could just grab onto there. To me, the finish of this boat feels very premium, very high end. I know there's much higher end boats out there, but for what I paid for this boat, everything feels extremely sturdy, extremely solid. I've had zero issues with it so far. I've done all the scheduled maintenance and things like that, so it's been treating me well. Yep, this down here, I forget what they call it. It's not a grab rail, but it's basically like a tow rail. You could put your toes underneath there as you're leaning over the boat fighting a fish. Just keeps you a little bit more sturdy. A little bit of rod storage right here for some extra rods that maybe you don't need accessible at any given moment. I keep a gaff in one, and then my rod with my descending device in the other, and then on the other side I think I keep a net, something like that. Cooler, this is the exact same cooler that comes with mine. It's sturdy. It's basically a Yeti type insulated cooler. It holds ice, drinks, food, stuff like that really well. Matter of fact, I think it holds ice longer than the fish boxes do, if I remember correctly. I think it's just got better insulation. A couple of rod holders back here, lean post. This is super comfortable up here. I do like the center console a lot, how it's configured. It's centered generally on this seat as opposed to offset like some other boats. So it is kind of awkward to sit with two on here. It could be done, but generally you're centered on here, so there's not a lot of space on either side for somebody else sitting up there while you're underway. I'm not sure what they got on here. I've got the Yamaha 150, which I think is totally adequate for this boat. I've never felt underpowered. I don't know what the 200 feels like on this boat, but I assume it feels very powerful, very fast, because even with the 150, I feel like I've got enough juice definitely on this boat. Yep, back here you got your bait well. Works excellent. I have had zero issues with it, whereas I had a lot of issues with the bait well on my previous boat. This one's done me really well. It's held any bait that I've put in there, really indefinitely. You don't really see it on these photos, but you've also got your raw water right here. Comes with the little coiled hose and a little spray attachment. Super useful. I didn't have raw water in my last one. I love it. Rinsing things off, whenever you need to. You can't really see the back platform that good, but you do have a little step ladder that comes down right here and secures with this little latch, which kind of just turns it into a flat casting platform whenever you have the ladder stowed away. These are just some similar models. They have an R160 now, which is a 16-footer, R180, 18-footer, 22, and so on, just kind of based on the naming. I have the 220 footer, which I guess would make it a mid-level boat, entry-level boat as far as the Robalo line goes. But they do have a few smaller ones as well. I kind of wish I would have gotten maybe one of these smaller ones as my first boat, as opposed to a skiff or as opposed to a Mako. But it was a perfect step up to the R200, so no real regrets there. I do want to mention one thing. So an optional feature, and I'm not sure if this came from my dealership or if this comes from Robalo, they have what's known as a man overboard system, which is basically a bracelet that you put on your wrist, and it is Bluetooth enabled. So if you go overboard, kind of like your safety kill switch that you would lanyard to yourself, which it does have the little red kill switch that while you're underway you have to have attached. It works similar to that, but it's Bluetooth. So as soon as you jump out of the boat, it'll kill the engine. The thing is, I immediately disabled mine because I was having some issues with it, and I just go analog with it. Just use a regular kill switch. I don't recommend the man overboard system. Maybe other people have had better luck with it, but I did not. I had issues because, just like if you didn't have your kill switch in, the boat wouldn't start up, and sometimes the Bluetooth wouldn't connect or things like that. Or sometimes it would think I was outside of the boat when I was inside of the boat. Also, I had some issues with like water intrusion. Basically, the waterproof seal on the bracelet itself was leaky. So I was having issues with that as well. So I just disabled it and I just used the regular kill switch. Just a standard one that everybody's used to. Yep, so I will go back. I built my R200 right here. Basically, this is what mine looks like. It says 73,440. I guess these things have gotten more expensive over the last year or two because I paid closer to 50. Oh, now that I think about it, mine probably wasn't too much cheaper than this. It was definitely a little bit cheaper than this, but it probably wasn't too much cheaper because I think I got about 18,000 for my trade-in on my other boat. So it came out to around 50 something after trade-in, so it's not too far off. Yep, this is the color I have here. They call it ice blue. I think it's beautiful. I think it's probably the best color on this boat. Originally, I was kind of torn whether I wanted to get the seafoam. Steel blue looks okay, but it wasn't really my top choice. But I wanted either the seafoam. I thought the gray looked really nice too. But this color has really grown on me. It looks beautiful in my opinion, especially when the boat is cleaned up and everything. I just think it looks really nice with the white and with the white T-top. Got the 150, beautiful, no problems with it. It has the hookup to where you can hook the hose directly to it for flushing out your motor, so you don't have to use the little Mickey Mouse earmuff things, although you could. Just depends on what you want to do, but it's just convenient to not always have to have those, sitting in the back of your truck or whatever. One thing I didn't mention, it's a double axle trailer, which I really like because I have gotten a flat on the highway. I trailer this boat back and forth down to Florida all the time. And even with the flat, because it's a double axle trailer, I was able to trailer it, however many miles to the next gas station to repair the tire and, continue going. Whereas with a single axle, you blow a tire, you're kind of screwed, you're dead in the water. No pun intended. It's got the regular standard aluminum prop. No issues there. Interior color, this is really a preference thing. I think they've got some really sharp colors though, depending. Mine is probably most similar to this, but even this is not an exact match. Maybe it's because it's the 2025 that we're looking at here, but I think the colors have changed up a little bit. Canvas, I got the white canvas up top. Why is it not showing the T-top though? Oh, here we go. Boom, that's it. That's the one I got right there. Your anchor light goes up here, as you can see. It folds down if you want to fold it down, and also you can just remove it if you want. Oh, the other thing is having these uprights is so useful because for somebody who is new to boating or newer to boating or deals with a lot of current or wind, when they're trying to get their boat on this trailer, this thing pushes you right in the middle and gets you right where you need to be as far as getting this thing hooked up and pulling it in. Mooring cover. I bought a nice mooring cover from some custom some custom shop, and for whatever reason it doesn't fit, so I'm using a cheap mooring cover currently. This is not the chart plotter fish finder that I have. Um, I can't remember exactly what model I have, but I really love it, and I'll have to get back. I'll probably drop in the comment or the description section. I don't see it on here, so yeah, I can't really show it right now, but it comes with a pretty nice chart plotter. Tilt steering. I'm not sure if mine has a tilt steering or not. I've never tried tilting it, so I suspect mine does not have the tilt steering. Not exactly sure. Dual battery system, got it. Trim tabs, got it. Love the trim tabs. I'm not, exactly a trim tab expert. I know you can adjust trim tabs for like fuel efficiency and things like that, but mainly I use it just to level out the boat. If I've got people on one side of the boat, or if one side of the boat's heavier than the other, I just use these to level out. Super simple. This came with mine. It's just nice to stand on. I will say it gets really dirty and it's kind of hard to clean though. Seems like dirt kind of sticks to this thing. Porta potty. I didn't necessarily want it. I'll probably never ever use it, but mine came with it, so it's in there. Bow filler cushion. Don't have. I do have the bow table, which I've quite literally never used. One day eventually I'm sure I will, but I think it's a cool little addition that you could consider when getting this boat. The removable bow seating backrest are really nice. I normally don't have them in. I keep them locked inside the head. They're there. They're nice to have whenever you have guests or you're doing a sandbar day. That way, while you're underway, people can lean up against it and then grab onto that grab rail. Feel super secure. Eye leaning post is white, but it's super comfortable, and of course it's got 4 rod holders in it, which is major. You could use those to potentially troll, but I normally use the rod holders built into the gunnels on the sides for trolling purposes. Anchor was great while I had it. Lost it on a artificial reef in Panama City, but yeah, it comes with this custom anchor that fits perfectly inside the anchor box. It kind of hangs in there. I don't think I'll be able to show you guys how it fits, but yeah, the anchor was good while I had it, so I'm using a different anchor now. Don't have this, not really into that. Good option to add if you're into water skiing, wakeboarding, things like that, but I didn't find it necessary. I haven't really got any experience with that. Trailer's great. The boat's heavy, so I will say it feels heavy behind my truck, which I have a Chevy Silverado 1500. It does affect the fuel efficiency quite a bit just because it's a heavier boat with a double axle trailer, but yeah, it's fine. The tongue folds away, which depending on how you want to store it could be useful. Could buy you like an extra, I don't know, 8 inches or a foot or something like that. I didn't buy the spare tire kit, at least not the one that came from Robalo. I just bought a spare tire from Harbor Freight, just got the exact same one, galvanized so it doesn't rust and all that. It almost looks identical, so when I did have that flat on my trailer, I replaced it with another tire with the exact same specs, and it was much cheaper. And that's pretty much it. So I guess they're going for around 72,310. How I have this one built out. Like I said, I think I probably paid a little bit less than that, but this was also, a year plus some change ago, and I did have a trade-in, so that obviously helps for tax purposes and things like that. And it just, subtracted about just under 20 grand from the overall price. But I will say overall, I do recommend this boat. I love this boat. This boat has everything that I didn't have on my last boat. I think it's a good mid to entry level boat. Family friendly, but it's also fishing friendly as well. I mainly just go out on this boat with one other person, just my brother, for the fishing stuff. But whenever we do go out to the sandbars or Crab Island or Shell Island, things like that, we load this thing down. And like I said, I think I've had at least 7, 8, 9 people on this boat very comfortably, tons of seating room and all that, and I've never really felt crowded on it. Yeah, I personally don't know if I would recommend it for a first boat. It is pretty big, it is pretty heavy. I think it might be wise to get something smaller just to learn the basics of boating, ding up something that's a little less consequential, like a John boat or a smaller skiff to start out on and maybe upgrade to this later, or maybe start out on the R180, R160, something like that, and upgrade to this later, depending on your situation. Because I would say I've generally been boating my whole life, but I've only been a boater myself, a boat owner myself for a couple years now. And I've grown into it quite a bit, but I will say it was a little bit intimidating trailering this thing, backing it in at the boat ramp, things like that for the first few times. I feel a lot more comfortable now, but even with some experience and some seasons under my belt with this boat, I still sometimes find myself really appreciating how big it is for me as a less experienced boater. Rate this boat personally on a scale from 1 to 10 for what it is, maybe like a 9.5 out of 10. Yeah, I absolutely adore and love this boat, and I recommend it to a lot of people that have similar boating conditions as myself. I'm in the Gulf of Mexico, so it's not as rough as some of the other areas, but this boat has done everything I've wanted to. I've caught plenty of fish on it. I've done plenty of recreation on it, and I'm going to continue to do so. I think I'm going to have this boat for a very long time. I don't plan on upgrading time soon, just because my last boat, I outgrew it very quickly, but I don't see myself outgrowing this boat at all. As a matter of fact, I still think I'm growing into this boat, so I think it's a very good option. You can do a lot with it, and you're not going to be locked down to inshore stuff or anything too near shore, and stuck in the bay or something like that, like you would with a skiff or a smaller boat like I was, and just wanting more range and having a 70-gallon fuel tank and things like that. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think I'm going to end this video with a couple of photos, maybe a couple of videos of my boat, my actual boat, just so you guys can get a look at it. I don't know how many videos I have per se, but it'll give you just a idea of what the boat looks like underway, and an idea of some of the fish that I've caught on this boat as well.